The time is now 7 o'clock.
We spent pretty much this entire week shrouded in clouds and rain and thick fog. The rain took quite a toll on many regions, and for some people, vacation is the furthest thing from their minds. And for others, though, this summer vacation and beach season is a major part of their livelihoods. Demand for domestic travel has been low, in part due to the weather, but also because of negative images associated with overcharging. The former, we can't help, but the latter, there is definitely something that can be done about reasonable and responsible business practices, even in the midst of peak summer season. I'm Catherine. This is Morning Wave in Busan on Friday, July 12th on befm, 부산영어방송. Good morning, Wavers. Oh, taking a little peek out my window. The sun is peeking out. I see it. I'm so happy. I don't know if it's going to last. We'll find out during our weather report. I hope you're all doing well, by the way, because, of course, we've been hearing about the tragedies across the country due to the torrential rain. I hope you're all doing well. So anyhow, the beginning of beach season this year, unfortunately, coincided with the height of the monsoon season here. And as we approach the second weekend of the full beach season, oceanside businesses are nervously watching, the weather forecast for a little peak of sunshine to bring people to the beaches. Numbers for the first weekend of July were low. For Haeundae and Gwangalli, just over 226,000 people went to the top two beaches in Busan last Saturday and Sunday. And this is a 30% drop from the same weekend last year, and actually for Gwangalli, half of the figure from last year. So the overcast, rainy, and windy weather has been a disappointment for visitors who had been hoping for sunny days. Let's talk about the local businesses. It's been an even bigger concern when you think about it. Parasol renting companies said that they rent out about 15 parasols per day when they should be renting out 100. Others report their sales cut by about half compared to the same period last year. And of course, there are plenty more days left in the summer, but with the rainy season forecast to last, businesses are certainly growing anxious. And you have to think about this. It's not just about the parasols, but about all the adjacent businesses. The rain affects everybody, all the businesses that are associated with the beach and everything else. All right, let's switch gears. We're going to talk about our text topic. Today, it's coincidences and chance happenings. We're going to talk about that later on in the program. But for now, tell us about a time when you realized, oh my gosh, the world is such a small place. For example, let's talk about running into someone at a random place, running into, let's say, a famous person, or like finding out that you're connected to someone, whether it's somebody famous or you're just like realizing like, oh, you know this person? Oh, you went to this school? Oh, you're from this hometown? Something like that. And we've had that actually, like even in our YouTube chat room. That's happened a couple times, right? So we're talking about those chance happenings, chance occurrences. 가끔 세상이 정말 좁다라는 걸 느낄 수 있잖아요. 뜬금없는 곳에서 아는 사람을 만나는 경험, 과거에 누군가를 갑자기 만나는 경험, 또는 유명한 사람을 본 경험 등 여러분의 겪은 신기한 우연, 공유하는 시간을 가져보겠습니다. You can tell us all about your stories. Send them into our live stream, live chat on YouTube. Go to that platform and you search for befm or 부산영어방송. Don't forget to subscribe, log in, and then you can chat away with our other waivers. Also, pound 9050. That's going to cost you 100 won. You can also reach me for free on our Kakao Talk channel. You can listen to us in various ways, 90.5 or 103.3 FM on the radio dial. You can check in with our YouTube live feed right now. You can also use that channel. You can watch us later on. We also have the Popbang app for your convenience. Looking ahead to our morning together, we have Joffrey with ASEAN in Korea, Korea in ASEAN. We have Vasana with foreign press highlights for our special interview. We're going to talk about the NATO Summit. As you know, President Yoon Suk-yeol is he has recently been to the NATO Summit, but we want to talk about what the focus has been thus far. We know about, obviously, North Korea, Russia, Iran. That has been, of course, a bit of the focus. But what other things have been going on, especially with President Yoon Suk-yeol there? So that's going to be our main focus of our discussion for our special interview. And I'll be back with today's headlines. It is now 7:06 and these are today's headlines. Yoon and Biden warn North Korea's nuclear attack will be met with overwhelming response. President Yoon Suk-yeol and U.S. President Joe Biden highlighted the tremendous progress in the two nations' joint defense efforts and issued a joint statement on the sidelines of the NATO Summit. Next year's minimum wage set at 10,031. The 2025 minimum wage has been set at 10,031 per hour, a 1.7 increase from this year, and the first time that the country's minimum wage exceeds 10,000 won. Training hospitals issue final call to trainee doctors on strike. Major training hospitals gave an ultimatum to their trainee doctors to notify them of their return or resignation by Monday, July 15th. BOK freezes rates for a 12th straight time, considers when to cut rates. The Bank of Korea, or BOK, kept its benchmark borrowing rate at 3.5% yesterday as household debt runs high along signs of moderating inflation, while the domestic economy is expected to grow faster than expected. South Korea's over 65 population surpasses 10 million. The population of those aged 65 or over reached 10 million as of Wednesday out of a total population of nearly 51.27 million, accounting for 90.5% of the total official population. And these are today's headlines. It's time for Busan Updates. We have Haley here in the studio. Happy Friday.
Good morning. It's Friday. It's sunny.
I know.
I'm all about it.
Fingers crossed.
Oh, yeah. Knock on wood.
Yes. All right. So we're talking about chance meetings, occurrences, running into, famous people.
Right. I mean, there are meetings, chance occurrences where you're like, oh my God, the world is such a small place versus why is this world so small?
Yes.
Like, why is that? Why is, yeah. A really random occurrence. This was years ago. My family visited LA. I think I was in middle school, so years ago.
Yes.
We ran into my mom's middle school teacher.
Oh.
My mom went to middle school in 성북구 in Seoul.
Okay.
And then in LA.
In LA?
In LA. we ran into her. And like, because we heard like, we were shopping and we were like, because we're from Seattle and we're like, oh my God, this is like LA Koreatown. Oh my God, this is amazing. Like they have everything. And then we heard like 경선아, which is my mom's name. 경선아, I'm like, what? I'm like, because I mean, because it was a female voice. I was like, has my sister finally lost her mind? And is she calling her mom by her first name? I'm like,
Someone's in trouble.
God, what is wrong with you? And it was like this older lady, and I was like, who are you?
Oh my gosh!
Yeah. So it was a very, and she was like one of my mom's favorite teachers. Right. So I mean, she remembered her after all those decades.
The fact that she like recognized her, though.
Yeah.
Wow, that would like have given me chills.
And then here's the kicker, though. So they exchanged numbers. My mom lost her number.
Oh,
yeah.
So
yeah.
But it was still,
a very moving, amazing moment.
Oh.
But yeah, so I wish they could have still kept in touch.
That's such a touching moment. Very, very perfect for our tech topic today.
Right.
All right, let's jump into our first update. First, we have new figures on the number of rental scam victims here in Busan.
Right, so definitely an unfortunate story, and damage has been snowballing recently. So there are currently about 2,000 young people in Busan who have collectively lost 200 billion won from housing scams. So according to the city, as of June 30th, 1,997 people have been recognized as victims of rental scams. And actually, they added 15 in just a matter of 11 days. So, for example, in one case, a man in his 30s, he apparently bought 3 office-style apartment buildings without any of his own money. So he basically took out loans and the renters' deposits. This individual refused to give back the deposit to the renters, and he has been indicted on fraud charges.
So does the city have support measures for the victims?
It does, but there's a little bit of a gap between what's being provided versus what the victims feel they need. So, for example, the city does provide support for civil lawsuits.
Okay.
However, for some cases, there's no point because the landlord is in prison. So basically, you can just, he or she can say, landlady also can say, well, I'll just serve my time. Then they can't get any money back. Also, the legal fees that the city provides sometimes they do exceed what winds up being as lawyers' fees and court fees. So the victims also, some of the victims even have to pay for the management fees for the building because once again, the proprietor is in prison and they still have to live there. So they're actually paying out of pocket for like the overall building maintenance costs as well.
I see. So unfortunate to hear about. All right, next. With this heavy rain in the past couple of weeks, we're starting to see produce prices go up
Unfortunately,
again.
It's time that we have to look at the produce prices once again.
Yes.
So main prices remain vegetables. Major vegetables are on the rise. For example, lettuce prices have gone up by 2.2% in the span of 1 week. Asian cabbage prices up by 13%. And then if we're looking at like an on-month increase, 26%. Radishes are up by 13% and similar numbers with spinach, carrots, and so on and so forth. And the thing is, though, we're just in July. So usually after July, there is a significant price hike after the rain season ends because that, of course, affects the crop yield and the vegetable yield. And then we're not going into a great season in terms of prices because after the rain season, there's a heat wave and then potentially the typhoon season. So the weather really isn't doing prices any favors. So as for, of course, this affects households. You do your home's grocery shopping, so I'm sure you've noticed slightly. But then also larger restaurants. For example, if you are a Korean barbecue restaurant owner, you have to have that like the fresh, the leafy vegetables, and that you can't really stock up. So you're going to have to pay for that one way or another. So that's definitely a concern.
Indeed. All right, let's move on and talk about this. Here in Korea, we all know education is like a hot issue. Well, students at a particular high school in Busan, they have to retake their final exam because something went awry with the questions, right?
Can you imagine, though? I mean, so today, second year high school students, so 11th graders at a high school in Kijang will redo their final exams today. And here's the thing. Not only were they excited about summer vacation and not really doing anything.
Sure.
But this is second year in high school, which like the grades are kind of considered one of the most important
Very
times.
important.
It is, every
Yes.
grade is important, but it's different from second year in middle school, for example. Oh, the reason some of the questions on the original test were too similar to a commercial workbook that's out in circulation.
Really?
So this is from the Korean language literature portion. 11 of the questions were very similar to a workbook that's sold just out in bookstores. 10 of them were multiple choice. One was an essay question. And some, according to the students, were near copies. So the school said that they came to learn about this, and after a thorough review, they did decide to redo the test. So what happened is, according to the school, there are two teachers who apparently created the questions, but they took some of the questions from a public pool of available questions and explained that because it comes from a public source, it seems that the private companies also use the same questions as well. But there were also no connections to any specific private academies, perhaps like irregular connections, so there are no suspicions of that. They have received, the teachers have received a written warning from the school, and the school apologized to the Parents Association and also to the students.
I mean, I have thoughts on this as a
Things
fellow
can be said, right?
parent.
Right.
I mean, this whole idea of using from a public pool of questions,
Right.
that also brings question marks in my head. But also,
Yeah.
there are other extremes where sometimes like I feel like why do teachers make it too difficult?
Right, right.
Like 너무 어렵게 되는 것도 that's also an issue too, right?
I mean, there's no perfect balance in education.
Right.
There's really, So I feel for the teachers.
I do.
Definitely feel for the students.
right.
All I can
That's a
say
tough
is
one.
good luck. Sorry. I mean, yeah.
All right, next up, Busan City is conducting a crackdown against illegal activities in lodgings and restaurants in popular tourist areas.
Right, kind of in line with our top topic today
Yes.
about tourism. And we want people to not just come here once, but continue to come back, at least leave with a good impression and tell their friends. And
Yes.
not tell their friends, don't go there because I've been ripped off. So Busan City is working to create this positive image for visitors in time for vacation season,
Right.
especially with safe food and sanitary clean lodgings. So the city will crack down on unregistered hotels and motels and those, air something rented apartments in popular tourist destinations, and will take immediate legal action against violators. And as for food, it will focus on the most well-known, kind of the representative symbolic menus in Busan. All right, be prepared to get hungry. So 돼지국밥, the pork soup, 밀면, the cold noodles, 회, raw fish, and 어묵 fish cakes. Making sure that the restaurants are clean. No one is reusing or recycling food, and everything, all the ingredients are within the expiration date.
Yes, well, that's good for everybody, right?
Of course.
Yes. All right. Finally, there is going to be a Black Eagle show. And I think there was like a rehearsal yesterday,
There was
right?
a rehearsal.
Yeah.
We all should have gotten the two messages yesterday,
right?
last night around 6. So the Air Force Special Unit, the Black Eagles, they're putting on a celebratory show. It'll be over Haeundae. That's for the Committee on Space Research, or COSPAR Scientific Assembly for this year.
Right.
By the way, that is like the world's biggest scientific assembly, and that takes place in Busan this week. So the Black Eagles, the jets will take off from Kimhae. They will fly over Bukgu and Kumjonggu to Haeundae. However, you may hear the sounds from basically everywhere in the city.
Sure.
So they sent out an alert for the rehearsal yesterday, and make sure that you aren't panicked, because apparently last year a Black Eagles rehearsal started a lot of people, and about 100 calls came into the city and the police.
I see. Yes, it was quite loud.
Right.
Anyhow, thank you for all the updates, Haley. We'll check in with you real soon. Now back to you, the listeners. We're talking about coinkydinks today, coincidences and chance happenings. That's happening a little later on. So for our text topic, we are talking about chance run-ins. Things like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just ran into you. Or like, running into like a famous person. Or just connecting with somebody in this weird but like wonderful way. 자, 우리가 여기서 어떻게 만났지? 그런 느낌 있잖아요. 그냥 갑자기 누군가를 여기서 만나는 그런 경험. 유명한 사람이든 그냥 뜬금없이 만나는 해프닝, 우연, 만남, 그런 이야기를 나누고 있습니다. So while you think about that, here is your traffic and weather. It is now 7:19 on this beautiful Friday morning. Here's your traffic report. It looks a little slow on 중앙대로 right now from Seil Hospital to Choryang intersection. And it's also congested on Dongso overpass from Bomnekor ramp to the old Kaegum tollgate. As for the weather, it is currently 23 degrees with sunny skies. The daytime high will go up to 31 today. It's kind of the first sunny day we've had in a while, so let's enjoy it. Showers are forecast for some parts of the country, including Ulsan and parts of Gyeongnam. Looking ahead to the weekend, there are chances of rain tomorrow evening with a high of 29, looking at a low of 23 tomorrow. The rain will continue through Sunday with similar temperatures. This was your traffic and weather.
Are you an early bird? Are you up to date on the news? Are you a trendsetter? For all of the biggest issues from Busan to the world and useful information you need, right here on Morning Wave in Busan.
It's now time for News Digest. So Haley's still with us once again. This first story, former Marine Corps Commander Im Sung-gun, he's at the center of this political controversy, which alleges that someone lobbied on his behalf to a VIP to protect him. So let's get into this.
Right. So this is a bit of a convoluted story. So let's get the figures and the facts straight.
Okay.
So former Commander Im Sung-gun, he is the figure, still is at the center of the controversy where a 20-year-old Marine Corporal Che died last year during a search and rescue mission. So Im was suspected of having been responsible, at least in part, to the lapsed safety measures or the complete lack thereof.
Right.
But earlier this week, Gyeongbuk police decided to not pass him to the prosecution for charges, basically finding that he was not liable for what happened to the 20-year-old soldier. So the other commanders kind of took on the blame.
Okay.
But now there have been accusations raised that an accomplice in the Deutsche Motors stock manipulation case, which involves the first lady, this accomplice may have lobbied for Im Sung-gun.
Oh.
So we're going to take that story from the top. So this figure, the alleged lobbyist, is named Lee Jong-ho. He's the former CEO of an asset management firm, Black Pearl Investments. So he was involved in the Deutsche Motors stock manipulation case, and he was found guilty of stock manipulation. And he has also said as a court record that he is personally acquainted with First Lady Kim Gun-hee. So this phone conversation or recording has been released. And according to that recording, which took place in August of last year, in terms of the timeline, the accident, the death took place in July. So about a month later, between E and a different attorney who has since become a whistleblower for this case, E is heard as saying that he will speak to the VIP regarding Im and that he convinced Im via another mutual acquaintance, the media reports have been calling him Person X, to not resign from his post. And for reference, in Korea, VIP is usually kind of the code name for the president. So both the lawyer and Lee are former Marines, as is this third person, Person X, who is mentioned in a call and apparently formerly was a member of the Presidential Security Service. So there are alleged connections. So he also reiterated that this quote-unquote VIP has decided to protect Im. And when the lawyer asks and kind of asks that again to confirm, so you mean the VIP is going to protect Im, he responds, "That's right, but the media is making a fuss about it." So definitely something going on. But as for what did happen, Im did resign and former Defense Minister Lee Jong-sub dismissed him, accepting the resignation. But a day after this, President Yoon Suk-yeol actually criticized the results of the Marine Corps investigation and basically reinstated Im.
So this is, very convoluted.
Right.
So do we know who this VIP is?
Right. So that is the topic of political debate because colloquially, once again, we usually, say that's the president, but it could be anyone. It could be anyone.
Yes.
So E has stated that when he said VIP in the phone conversation, he was actually referring to the Marine Corps commander Kim Ge-hwan, and he explained that to some media outlets. However, as for the Democratic Party, they're saying no one in the military calls the commander VIP, especially in the military, because the commander-in-chief, aka the president, would be VIP, is their side of the position. Im issued a press statement saying that he actually has no recollection of receiving a call from this so-called person X, and that he's actually never even met E. And also the Yongsan presidential office denied the allegations as absurd.
Okay, well...
So that's what's been going on.
Yes. I'm sure we'll be hearing more about this story.
Right.
So thanks for trying to explain this very complicated story to our listeners out there. Let's move on. This story, of course, we've been following for months on end. The government has extended this olive branch to the doctors' community, but their side not budging.
Right. So this week, the government kind of eased its position when it comes to like the punitive action, even saying that they'll adjust the point at which medical students have to come back to classes to basically not be held back and be able to take their medical board exams. However, the doctor or the medical students are saying kind of like, so what? Right. The situation may be getting worse. So according to the medical students, they're still boycotting the classes and now even potentially boycotting the national certification exam, which would give them their license. So according to the Korea Association of Medical Colleges, they surveyed 3,015, that's basically all fourth-year medical students.
Right.
And apparently 95% refused to submit kind of the consent form to their respective universities for national certification exam. So in order for medical students to get their doctor's licenses, there's a two-phase exam. You have to take the practical exam, which takes place between September and November. And for those who pass that, the following January is the written test.
Yes.
So this exam then produces about 3,000 new doctors each year. So they will become interns and subsequently residents, aka trainee doctors. So if medical students boycott this, then we are going to be an immediate shortage of trainee doctors, which will then lead to specialists.
Well, in the meantime, the government is looking to vastly reform the structure of these larger general hospitals,
Right.
correct?
So the medical reform at large is still ongoing. And the government announced yesterday that it'll reform the medical supply and usage system.
Right.
Basically, number one, raising the national health insurance coverage for serious surgeries and also for larger kind of tertiary general hospitals, cutting down on non-emergency or intensive beds by about 15% and providing compensations for medical staff who are on call. So basically, the goal is to have these larger general hospitals be more in charge of serious, critical, and intensive cases while distributing the less serious cases to local hospitals and clinics.
Right.
So the point is to once again separate the roles, and so they won't have to really compete with each other, and having the medical treatment process be more streamlined. So the program will go through a pilot process and then be launched officially in 2027.
All right. Next, let's talk about this. We talked about this tragic story about this parcel delivery worker who has gone missing after she was swept in the rapids during the heavy rain. This was this past Tuesday, right? And this case has raised issues with safety and basically the right of workers to basically stop working in adverse weather conditions. And so we got to get into this.
So, by the way, this worker was unfortunately found dead yesterday. So the death count from the week's torrential downpour has now come up to 6. But before she went missing, she was swept in the rapids. She did text her colleague, "It's raining too much. I don't think I can do deliveries." So, by the way, laborers, and here's the thing, laborers, so 노동자, they have the right to not work or stop their work under the Industrial Safety and Welfare Act if there's an urgent danger or risk of an industrial accident. So they can stop what they were doing and evacuate the premises. However, once again, with anything in the Labor Act, it only covers laborers. And the thing about parcel delivery workers, they're legally not laborers because usually they're self-employed persons who are considered like businesses, so they sign business contracts as opposed to employment contracts. And that does exempt them from a lot of things, for instance, like medical insurance coverage, benefits by the company, and even to the right to stop their work. But here's the thing about deliveries. They're subject to weather conditions. I mean, most of the work is done outside. They have to drive. And we have seen delivery workers die during periods of heavy rain. For instance, one happened in July 2011, June of 2016, and now. So after the latest, or the last death in 2016, the post office in 2018, they established a clause where the head of the respective post office can order for deliveries to be stopped. But that's once again the post office, the public forum, the public institution.
Right.
But what about for private companies? Well, that's really nothing almost. So CJ, one of the largest logistics companies in the country, they do not have a specific clause on stopping deliveries in bad weather.
Sure.
So the thing is, though, you can stop it temporarily, but ultimately the delivery workers actually call for a more fundamental solution because they're kind of freelancers who are paid per delivery. So if deliveries pile up and you stop it for one day, then you're basically going to have to do double duty the following day. So ultimately, they say the fundamental solution is to really kind of reduce the workload in the first place if there is heavy rain or adverse weather conditions.
Well, I certainly hope that this is the last time we hear about something like this.
Right.
Anyhow, thank you so much for reporting on all these stories. We'll check in with you in hour number 2.
See you in a bit.
Everybody, this was Haley with News Digest. We are due for a song break. So here is our first song. This is 고민 중독 by QWER.
어떤 인사가 괜찮을까 천 번쯤 상상해봤어 근데 오늘도 천번하고 한 번 더 고민 중 막상 네 앞에서 네 꽁꽁 얼어버렸다 숨겨왔던 나의 마음 절반의 반도 주지를 못했어 아직은 준비가 안 됐다고요 소용돌이쳐 어지럽다고 쏟아지는 맘을 멈출 수가 없을까 너의 작은 인사 한마디에 요는 늦어서 네 맘의 비밀번호를 눌러 열고 싶지만 너를 고민해도 좋은 걸 어쩌니 거울 앞에서 새벽까지 연습한 인사가 손을 들고 웃는 얼굴을 하고서 고개를 숙였다 아직도 준비가 안 됐나 봐요 소용돌이쳐 어지럽다고 쏟아지는 맘을 멈출 수가 없을까 너의 작은 인사 한마디에 요는 늦어서 네 맘의 비밀번호를 눌러 열고 싶지만 너를 고민해도 좋은 걸 이러지도 저러지도 못하는데 속이 왈칵 뒤집히고 이쯤 왔으면 눈치 챙겨야지 날 봐달라고요 좋아한다 너를 좋아한다 좋아해 너를 많이 좋아한단 말이야 벅차오르다 못해 내 맘이 쿡쿡 아려와 두 번은 말 못해 너 지금 잘 들어봐 매일 고민하고 연습했던 말 좋아해
Welcome back, everybody. So today we are talking about so many different things. But for our main story today, we are talking about the fact that there are some vacation-related issues. We're going to turn to Jeju now, which has taken quite a hit on its domestic tourism demand this year. About 500,000 fewer people visited the island this year compared to last year. And the figures not recovering even in the midst of vacation season. And the island's tourism industry keeps getting these stories of, let's just say, not very generous tourism behavior. The entire Jeju tourism industry has gotten a bad reputation recently, and both residents and visitors are quite sensitive about this. However, the popular vacation island actually doesn't have a control tower which could even handle this PR crisis. There is a joint public-private tourism reform emergency committee, but that's pretty much just in name only at the stage. Nearly every tourism destination has this issue, and with international travel back up and the high cost of living at home, they will have to do something to attract domestic visitors. And now, back to our text topic. We're talking about coincidences and chance happenings later on in our program. So for now, we're talking about a time when you realize, oh my gosh, the world is such a small place. 세상 왜 이렇게 좁아요? So tell me about a time when you have run into someone like at a completely random place. You've run into someone famous, or you've run into like, 옛날 첫사랑. I'll read one of those messages in just a little bit. Or you just run into someone, you're like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen you in ages and ages. 자, 가끔 세상이 정말 좁다고 느낄 수 있잖아요. 그렇죠? 뜬금없는 곳에서 너 여기서 왜 나타나? 그런 느낌? 그리고 그래서 뭐 과거에 누군가를 갑자기 만나는 경험 분명히 있을 거라고 생각하고, 혹은 유명한 사람도 뜬금없이 저 그거 옛날에 한번 얘기한 것 같은데요. 저희 아빠가 그 사우나에서 박찬호 씨를 만났는데 못 알아봤다는 거. Everybody else knew who he was. My dad kept on looking at this guy, and it was like, why is everybody like staring at him and like, clamoring around him? And my dad realized, who is that? And so my dad asked the 아저씨 next to him, 그 누군데 자꾸 막 소란스럽나 했더니 박찬호 씨라고. It was at a LA sauna. And sometimes when you're like at a place when you don't know, you're naked, so you don't recognize someone. 그럴 수 있잖아요. 뭐 알몸이라고. That's not a bad word, right? When you're naked, you don't recognize people because you're unclothed. So he didn't recognize him. He wasn't in his baseball uniform, so my dad didn't recognize him, and he felt really, really stupid afterwards. And then he's like, "Oh, I want to get an autograph, but you're naked. Where do you get an autograph? Like where, right?" So anyway, afterwards though, he was really nice in the dressing room. Clothed, he did get his autograph afterwards. He was very, very nice about it. But I do want to read where is Taejin's message. This was I'm going to go back up. 2017년 미국으로 가는 비행기 바로 옆자리에 제가 좋아했던 국민학교, that dates you. 국민학교 6학년 반장을 만났어요. 너무 이거 음악 좀 깔아주시지 피디님. 너무 신기했고 그녀는 공부를 잘했고 가로치고 MIT 공대 예뻤는데 성인이 되고 봐서 그런지 어릴 때 그 느낌의 반장이 아니었어요. Oh no. So he ran into his first love from elementary school, 6th grade. She sat right next to him, and she ended up, brilliant. But she just, I guess he was slightly disappointed. So he wants to know. He was slightly disappointed. He wants to know, did I have a similar experience? I did have a similar experience. I ran into my first love, and then I went out. Oh God! Hold on, let me check. Is my roommate listening? Okay, he's not. So I ran into my first love. I'll say it quickly, and I was so disappointed. I went out on a date with my first love. A 첫사랑, so disappointed. Don't do that, people. 첫사랑은 그냥 첫사랑뿐이에요. 하면 안 돼요. Let's get to our hot clip. for our hot clip. By the way, disclaimer, hot disclaimer. If you're eating, put down your utensils. This clip is about a man who attempted to smuggle something or some things. This is a clip from NBC News.
This one is not for the faint of heart. You might want to stop eating your breakfast. Airport agents in China foiled a man's plot to smuggle over 100 live snakes by hiding them in his pants.
Oh, no.
He was stopped at a security checkpoint between Hong Kong and China where officials found 6 canvas bags in his pants. 4 out of 5 species are not native to China. No word if the man was arrested or released with a slap on the wrist. And you have to wonder if he suffered any other consequences by trying to get rid of those snakes around his pants. I mean, you know, you gotta wonder.
Good question.
That would be punishment enough, I think.
Every single clip that I could find of this, every single anchor was laughing so hard. This was the only one where they weren't saying inappropriate jokes. Why would you? I can't even fathom. I guess it was for money. 104 live snakes in your pants. I could go on with the jokes. Anyhow, this man attempted to smuggle 104 live snakes in his pants. He was caught. This is an animal trafficker, and I don't even know how you can, but they were in sealed bags. Nonetheless, I can't even fathom. How can you even walk or sit straight with one snake? And I have a phobia of snakes. The thought of it, I just can't even fathom. This was your hot clip because it's a Friday. I hope you enjoyed it.
Stay tuned. You're listening to Morning Wave in Busan.
It is now time for Joffrey, and this is called ASEAN in Korea, Korean ASEAN. So, how are you?
I'm good. Good morning.
Yes, yes. So, today for a text topic, it's a fun one.
Travel.
Yes.
Tourism.
No. No, our text topic today. Before our main topic, we are talking about chance meetings.
Chance meetings.
Yes. Did you hear about it? We're talking about if you have met anyone famous, or, you know, those like moments are like, running into someone in the weirdest places, but thinking, 왜 여기서 만나지? 그런 거. Like, have you had any of those occurrences? I know I'm putting you on the spot.
Yes.
But that's the joy
I met
of...
someone.
Oh, yeah.
I met someone really high profile person. And
Yes.
then I saw him somewhere in a most unexpected place where he was
Can
drunk.
we say it on radio?
No. But
We love those stories.
yeah, but so I was very surprised. But he was a very respectable man.
Oh, but we can't say on
No,
air.
we can't say. Of course not.
이런 거 재밌는데.
So I did, but I was embarrassed.
You were embarrassed
I
for
was
him?
embarrassed for him because, oh my God, why were you here? I mean,
Why
of
are
all
you-
places, I saw
Tell
him
us later off air.
Yes. That's a good start for this one.
진짜 네가 거기서 왜 나와?
Very famous one.
너무 궁금한데? Politician?
Later.
Okay, later. 너무 교수님 너무 궁금하잖아요. Okay. We'll ask you off air. Okay,
Right,
okay.
sure.
All right. Let's dive into our topic. So we're focusing on traveling today.
Yes,
Okay.
travel and tourism. Yes.
Oh, yes. So what do you want to tell us about?
I want to discuss about, of course, the appeal of traveling to Southeast Asia, and of course, I also want to highlight some cultural insights and unique
Ooh,
experiences.
Sure.
Practical tips and recommendations.
Sure.
Of course, some common concerns and questions that we need to address.
Sure. So, first of all, let's talk about an overview of Southeast Asia and its appeal as a travel destination, especially during like July and August, because it's like, vacation season.
All right.
Yes.
Season. Southeast Asia consists of 10 countries plus
Yes.
East Timor, and they have similarities but very diverse.
Right.
They offer unique attractions in its own. It's a very budget-friendly region. It offers affordable accommodations, food, and transportation. Also, from pristine beaches and lush jungles to vibrant cities, we have landscapes that are stunning and so diverse. And of course, cultural richness. We have a mix of traditions. They have different history. Colonial history and modern influences and cultural experiences are varied and fascinating. So.
Yes, of course. I mean, I'm sure many of our listeners out there have been to many of the ASEAN countries, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So the most popular ones, I would like to get into the more popular. I would say
Yes.
most popular. For beach holidays, we have beaches like Bali. We have heard that a lot,
Of
right?
course, of
Phuket
course.
and Boracay for sunbathing and water sports and island hopping. We also have we can experience local festivals such as Indonesia's Bali Arts Festival and Thailand's Kendall Festival. This is happening this month. The Kendall Festival in Thailand.
Yes.
For cultural tours, we can explore historical sites like Angkor Wat
yes.
in Cambodia. We have Bagan in Myanmar and ancient temples in Laos. For nature and adventure, we can engage in outdoor activities like trekking in rainforest in Borneo, diving in the Philippines, and explore caves in Vietnam. Well, for the city experiences, of course, we have Bangkok, Kuala Lumpur, and Singapore. But the more traditional countries to visit in Southeast Asia, we have Thailand, we have Vietnam, Indonesia, Philippines, and Singapore.
But, oftentimes, isn't it like the wet or monsoon season during these weeks, is it not?
It is.
Right?
Wet season. It
Yes.
is rainy season, like here in South Korea. But we can still enjoy
Yes.
a lot of activities, such as indoor activities. We can visit museums, art galleries, cultural centers to stay dry.
Sure.
And still enjoy local culture. Of course, food, culinary experiences.
Yay.
We can take cooking classes or food tours to explore local cuisine.
Sure.
And we go there to relax, so we can experience spa and wellness. We can enjoy treatments and wellness retreats that many Southeast Asian countries are famous for.
That's right.
Rain-friendly attractions. We can explore temples, markets, and historical sites that are still accessible during rain. And of course, adventure sports. Some of the areas offer like whitewater rafting and canoeing, which are great during the rainy season.
Oh, yes, indeed. And so, what are some of the most popular destinations in Southeast Asia for South Korean travelers and foreigners? I mean, I know you've mentioned a wide variety of things for people to do and enjoy, but if we had to have maybe a top five.
Top five. All right.
Yes.
So we have Bangkok for a vibrant city, for Chiang Mai for its cultural heritage, Phuket for its beautiful cities. That's for Thailand.
Yeah.
For Vietnam, we have Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh, and Halong Bay for its stunning natural beauty.
Yes.
For Indonesia, I mentioned earlier, we have Bali, and of course, Jakarta for its urban experiences. For the Philippines, we have Boracay and Palawan for its pristine beaches and island adventures. And Singapore, of course, known for its modern attractions, cultural
Yes.
neighborhoods, and diverse cuisine.
I see. And I would say that nowadays there are some hidden gems, right? Because some of the cities that you've mentioned, they're very well known already. But what about some of the hidden gems, some of the kind of the unexplored beauties, the
Yes.
ones that maybe our listeners are kind of like, oh, I've already been there. But I want to go to some of the unexplored hidden gems.
The unexplored beauty of Southeast Asia, I can name maybe 3 to 4.
Okay.
I start with Batanes Islands. It's really beautiful there.
Batanes, okay.
It's the uppermost top part of the
So you got to
Philippines.
slow down because I'm sure some of our listeners are probably writing or they're trying to remember. Batanes.
Batanes Islands
okay.
in the Philippines. It's a remote island with rolling hills, dramatic cliffs, and traditional Ivatan houses.
Ooh, okay.
Right.
Batanes Islands, Philippines.
Yeah.
Okay.
In Cambodia, we have the Cardamom Mountains, a vast biodiverse area with rich wildlife, waterfalls,
Cardamom
and
Mountains.
opportunities of ecotourism.
Okay.
We have the Togean Islands in Indonesia. is a secluded archipelago, and then the non-province Thailand, which is a tranquil area with beautiful landscapes, local hill tribes, and less commercial tourism.
Ooh, okay. So to break it down one more time, just in case our listeners, once again, they want to visit, we have the Batanes Islands,
Batanes
Philippines,
Islands.
and then the Cardamom Mountains in Cambodia,
Yes.
and then the Togayan Islands in Indonesia, and then the Nan province in Thailand.
Yes.
Got it.
Right.
Okay. Yes. And then we have the maybe not so popular destinations, but maybe you might want to encourage your listeners. Hey, these are kind of the not so popular destinations, but hey, why don't we try these destinations out? Because the good thing about these destinations maybe
Right.
there are fewer people here. And so maybe
It is.
not crowded, but beautiful.
As I mentioned earlier, the
Right.
more popular countries are Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia,
Right.
Philippines, Singapore, Malaysia. But the not so popular countries offer a lot, actually.
Right.
We have Laos, for example. Laos has Luang Prabang. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site known for its well-preserved architecture. Vang Vieng is famous for its stunning limestone. Karst landscape. Then Myanmar. Unfortunately, Myanmar is not open this time, but Myanmar offers Beg Bagan. I mentioned earlier. It's an ancient city with thousands of temples and pagodas. And also Inle Lake, known for its floating villages. In Brunei, we don't really hear a lot about Brunei as a destination, right? But Bandar Seri Begawan is the home to the opulent Sultan Omar Saifuddin Mosque and the unique water village of Kampur Ayer.
Yes.
We can also introduce Ulu Temborum National Park, which offers pristine rainforest, canopy walkways, and rich biodiversity. And lastly, I can mention about Cambodia. On top of Angkor Wat, because Angkor Wat is very popular, right? But Cambodia also offers Pat Dambang, rich in colonial architecture, local arts, and nearby ancient temples without the crowds of Angkor Wat. And of course, Kampot, known for its relaxed riverside setting, pepper farms, and nearby Bokor National Park.
Oh, great. So before we wrap up, I do want to ask, maybe you have some practical tips for us because, before we plan a summer trip to any of these Southeast Asian destinations, what would you recommend we do before we leave?
Okay, these practical tips are for South Koreans and foreigners alike who are living in South Korea. For South Koreans and other nationalities, they have to check for their visa because it has visa requirements.
Sure.
South Korean passport is one of the most powerful passports in the world, right? As you know. But some Southeast Asian countries require South Koreans visa.
Yes.
But most of them actually are visa upon arrival. So they have to check out. But still,
check.
So number one. And then health precautions. We have to ensure to have necessary vaccinations and travel insurance. We have to carry a basic first aid kit. In terms of transportation, we have to book flights in advance. Flights and accommodations in advance, especially during this July and August, the peak summer season. And we can also take advantage of the budget airlines and local transport options.
Okay.
And if I were you, if I were our listeners, I would like to try our local transportation like tuk-tuk and ride-hailing hubs and jeepneys in the Philippines.
Oh, sure.
For currency, we have to always carry some local currency.
Right.
As not all places accept credit cards.
Sure.
ATMs are widely available in urban areas, but not in the rural areas. And then the packing tips. This is very important because it's summer. Yeah. We have to pack light. We have to pack breathable clothing and, of course, respect local dress codes, especially when visiting temples. So
That's
consider
really
that.
important.
Yeah.
I mean, read up on that because I think some people, they don't realize that, culturally, you don't want to be like flashing too much skin in certain countries, right?
Yeah.
We're actually going to end it on that note because these were really, really helpful tips and such a wide range of good information for our listeners. But we definitely look forward to next week with you as well. So thank you so much, Joffrey.
Thank you.
All right. Once again, this was our segment for Friday, and we look forward to next week. Oh, and this song, this is a blast from the past. Roly Poly by Tiara. I wonder why we're playing this. Enjoy. I'll be back at 8.
어디서 오셨나요?
befm 부산영어방송.
다운이 실내 건조 세탁세제.
이 캠페인은 대선공익재단과 befm 부산영어방송이 함께합니다.
혹시 지금 운전 중이신가요? 어린이 교통사고 피해자 수는 지난 3년 평균 약 9만 명. 특히 어린이 보호구역 안전기준이 강화된 이후에도 어린이 보호구역 내 사고는 지속적으로 발생하고 있습니다. 스쿨존에서는 반드시 시속 30km 이하 서행, 스쿨존 내 불법 주정차 금지, 차량 출발 전 앞뒤 좌우 살피는 습관으로 어린이가 안전한 도시를 만듭니다. 참, 운전 중 휴대전화 사용은 모두에게 위험합니다. 우리 모두를 위한 교통안전, 나부터 실천하면 모두가 안전해집니다. 어린이가 안전하게 뛰어놀 수 있는 부산. 아이 키우기 좋은 도시는 우리 모두의 미래이자 희망입니다. 이 캠페인은 어린이가 안전한 부산을 만드는 은행, B&K 부산은행과 함께합니다.
Hello everyone, I'm James from India. Ever since I was a young boy in India, I have been surrounded by different Korean products, and this instilled a dream in me to explore Korea one day. This chance came for me in 2014 when I began attending Busan National University as a graduate student in computer engineering. I have lived in Korea for over 7 years and I even run my own business now, a company that is developing a platform based on artificial intelligence and blockchain technology. From my experience, I can say with an absolutely certainty that Busan was the best place for me to start my business, thanks to the specialized blockchain zone. In the past 7 years, Busan has become my second home and I obviously love it here. Global City Busan, we are in it together. This campaign was brought to you by befm 부산영어방송.
The time is now 8 o'clock.
Good morning, Dynamic Busan.
Yeah, you're waking up. Time to shake it up. Tell the world good morning and find out what's going on.
Well, hi there, folks. There's everything from comedy to lively chat to music.
Broadcasting from a room about the size of your closet.
All calls are recorded.
What show is this?
Live from Korea's dynamic city, this is Morning Wave in Busan.
I'm sorry, who'd you say you were?
It is now 8 o'clock and this is news highlights. Yoon and Biden warn North Korea's nuclear attack will be met with overwhelming response. President Yoon Suk-yeol and U.S. President Joe Biden highlighted the tremendous progress in the two nations' joint defense efforts, while warning that any North Korean nuclear attack against the South will be met with swift, overwhelming, and decisive response. Yoon and Biden issued a joint statement on the sidelines of the NATO Summit, which also commended the allies' nuclear deterrence guidelines. In the meantime, NATO member nations expressed their official commitment to expand defense industrial capacity with South Korea and other Indo-Pacific partners to counter Russia. Next year's minimum wage set at $10,031. The 2025 minimum wage has been set at $10,031 per hour, a 1.7 increase from this year and the first time that the country's minimum wage exceeds 10,000 won. The minimum wage panel voted on the minimum wage early this morning after a marathon meeting. The final figure was the management side's proposal, which received 14 votes. Labor proposal of 10,121 received 9 votes. 4 labor representatives boycotted the vote. The panel will submit its decision to the Ministry of Employment and Labor, which will confirm the figure on August 5th to go into effect in 2025. Training hospitals issue final call to trainee doctors on strike. Major training hospitals gave an ultimatum to their trainee doctors to notify them of their return or resignation by Monday, July 15th. The hospitals will likely automatically process resignations for those who do not return or respond to the call. This comes as the health ministry reiterated calls to hospitals to complete processing resignations tendered by trainee doctors who failed to return to work. The government said that trainee doctors who have returned will be eligible for special consideration in order to minimize delays in acquiring licenses. BOK freezes rates for a 12th straight time, considers when to cut rates. The Bank of Korea, BOK, kept its benchmark borrowing rate at 3.5% yesterday, freezing the rate for a record 12th time. The rate freeze came as household debt runs high along signs of moderating inflation, while the domestic economy is expected to grow faster than expected. BOK Governor Lee Chang-yong said the central bank will review the timing of any rate cut in consideration of currency rates, household debt, and real estate prices. Lee, however, acknowledged that inflation moderation will continue. South Korea's over 65 population surpasses 10 million. The senior population in South Korea has surpassed 10 million, accounting for 19.5% of the total official population, said the Interior Ministry yesterday. The population of those aged 65 or over reached 10 million as of Wednesday, out of a total population of nearly 51.27 million. Sejong was the youngest city with just 11.3 million of its population aged 65 or above, while the rate was the highest in Cheonnam at 26.7%. This figure puts South Korea just shy of becoming a super-aged society, defined as having more than 20% of the population aged 65 and over. And this was News Highlights. It's time for Issue Wagar. Hayes is back in the studio with me.
Hello.
Yes. So our first story. Wow. So there's a lot to unfold. Let's get into it. So popular YouTuber Jiang has opened up about a long time abuse, a relationship with her ex-boyfriend, right?
Right. So this has been kind of all over social media,
Yes.
the news, like my friends and even my parents were talking about it this morning. So we're talking about the uber famous YouTuber Zhi Yang, or 27-year-old Park Jung-won. I mean, she is one of the most famous mukbang YouTubers in the country. She has over 10 million subscribers. But yesterday she revealed that her ex-boyfriend, who was also the former CEO of her agency, allegedly abused her and allegedly defrauded her of about 4 billion won of the profits.
Right.
We should also note that this will always be one-sided because this figure, the ex-boyfriend, is dead. He actually took his own life after she sued him. So unfortunately, then the relevant lawsuits that Ziyang has lodged against him, they've been dismissed as well. However, in terms of, well, this is because it's public record, she did file complaints and civil and criminal lawsuits against him. A paragraph of charges ranging from rape to fraud and basically everything else in between.
Right.
So she had a live broadcast with yesterday, and she claims that, well, they met when she was in college. They dated. He secretly filmed her and allegedly threatened to release the videos when, when she tried to break up with him. He also apparently took her to his business, a bar, and it was implied that it basically had hostesses as entertainment because she was allegedly forced to work there, kind of like, she said, quote, pouring drinks. Right. So she also claims abuse. He allegedly beat her and did not pay her upwards of 4 billion won from the broadcast. And ever since she made the statement, people are kind of realizing that she always had bruises on her arms, which many people do not realize that because people can be clumsy and, especially on your extremities, on your arms or legs. But according to some experts, consistent bruising on your arms could be a sign of defensive wounds because if someone's trying to hit you, you usually do put your arms up as a guard. So that's, if we can learn something from this very unfortunate accident, it's that we do kind of have a better awareness as a community to be on the lookout for those signs.
Yes. But apparently the reason she came forward with all of this was not actually of her own.
Right. And this is another issue that I would like to address because that is very deep personal issue, very deep personal trauma. And she was her hand was forced to really come out and tell her side of the story because someone else did. And many someones tried to blackmail her and basically extort her out of money. So there's this kind of group of YouTubers. It's called Rekha Union, and that's like the Konglish for like a car wreck. So that's what we colloquially call tow trucks.
Okay.
Is Rekha.
Yes.
And this Rekha, when it comes to like a YouTuber, is someone who trolls, basically someone who kind of spreads unfiltered and unsubstantiated information online for the sake of views. They will pretty much say anything. And, we sometimes see on the streaming channel, like a very famous celebrity died, and it's obviously not true. And those are kind of rumors that are spread by such YouTubers. So these kind of trolling YouTubers allegedly blackmailed Ziyang for hundreds of millions of won. So and this is also complicated, another YouTube called 가로세로 연구소, 가세연, they released recorded phone conversations indicating that these Rekha YouTubers, 구재옥 and another person, threatened Ziyang to expose her about the past and basically threatened her to give them money, saying this will be better for your business anyways. So it was kind of a threat of an exposure that was exposed. So so this is why she's had to come out and talk about this personal issue.
I wish these YouTubers would be nice.
I mean, I'm all for freedom of speech, but sometimes, and obviously we are streaming live on YouTube, but sometimes really giving a microphone to the mobs is it's just not, yeah.
And the people that follow them and subscribe to them, though.
Right,
also
right.
All right.
And what is that doing for our society?
I don't know. I just don't know. All right. Next, this photo was circulated online of a bridge collapsing in Gyeongnam, which turned out to be a doctored photo.
Once again,
I don't get it.
The merits of giving, a faceless mob a microphone, photo doctoring tools, AI technology. So there was this photo of Gochangyo in Gochang City that seemed to be like collapsing, partially collapsing, which is, we had that Maryland bridge collapse, and with heavy torrential downpour, people are so sensitive about safety. So people panicked after seeing that photo. People called the police, and the police actually blocked access to the bridge for 2 hours. However, it's fine. Nothing's wrong with the bridge. The photo came out apparently of a massive group chat. According to some reports, it had like up to 200 people.
Right.
One of the group chat members was a local county council member, but he or she was completely apart from this incident. The photo came from someone who is a Gochang resident. However, after the photo made its way online everywhere, and you can see the picture now on our streaming, the person says, "Oh, that photo was distorted because my hand was shaking when I took that photo." If your hand's shaking, the photo would be blurry. You wouldn't just have a dent. It just, Well, that wouldn't happen. Right. So this, of course, caused undue anxiety, waste of police resources. So the police have launched an investigation. So, judge issues with judgment and common sense. I don't know, decency, everything else. So let's move on because the world is terrible, at least for now. So let's move on.
Right. All right. Next, here's a case involving two soccer or football superstars that shows just how small the world might be, because that's kind of our text topic, what we're talking about, right?
So imagine, you've run into apparently singers, your first love, but imagine when you find out 20 years later that a photo you took was with another superstar.
Wow.
So there's a photo of a young Lionel Messi bathing. Giving a bath to Lamine Yamal, that kid.
That's him. That is so cute.
I mean, he was a adorable, chubby little kid.
How cute is that?
I dare you not to try to pinch his cheeks.
He's like the new hot it star
he is
right
like
now.
the it star. But let's just talk about how cute he was for the remainder of our segment. So this photo was taken in 2007. Although, why is Messi bathing him in the first place? So that's, of course, Lamine Yamal. So Messi was posing for that photo for a charity calendar photo shoot. So stars with adorable babies, which I buy that. So, of course, by the way, if you are not super into football, remember the name Lamine Yamal because he is the hot superstar, rising star right now. He's 16 years old, taking the Euros, the European Championships by a storm. He scored this. I don't know what, it just looked like he tapped the ball from almost the midline and it just went in.
It went in.
I'm is it magnetically attached? So there's some people are calling that goal legendary. By the way, it makes him the youngest to score at the Euros, 3 days short of his 17th birthday. So
he's 16
and 362 days.
Right.
So that long forgotten photo resurfaced recently because Yamal's such a breakout star right now. His father posted it on his social media page with a text, "The beginning of two legends." So the photos were taken by Joan Montfort, who works as a freelance photographer. So the photographer says that Messi was coming out of a locker room and he suddenly finds himself back then, 20 years ago, in another locker room with a plastic tub full of water and a baby in it. The photo shoot was complicated because Messi, who was, I think, 20-ish at the time.
He's young. He was young himself.
So young. He didn't even know how to hold a baby at first. Of course, he's a veteran now. I think he has, 3 or 4 kids, at least 3 kids, I believe.
But who would have thought that he
would
become...
As we say, who would have thunk? Just, what a small world.
Yeah.
What a small world.
Right.
Indeed.
I just thought of because people are mentioning on our YouTube
streaming,
channel
right?
about who is it? Busan Daddy? Mentioning he met Minsu. And they're
our Shinminsu?
Or Shinminsu, right? And then people are like, did you meet Kim Jo-an? And then so the 6 degrees of
the separation. Yeah, the Kevin Bacon separation.
Okay, so here we go. The 6 degree. Let's get to it. Busan Daddy met Shinminsu, who co-hosts with Kim Jo-an. Kim Jo-an was a member of Solid.
Right.
I went to school with a member of Solid.
What?
What's his name? Ijun.
I like our name knows. Ijun.
Yeah. So that's the 6 degrees of... I did a semester at USC, and I didn't know Solid at the time.
Right,
But all the girls were fangirling because I wasn't into K-pop.
I like how that runs in the family. Your dad doesn't know who Park Chan-ho was.
Yeah, my dad doesn't know
your
Park
family.
Chan-ho.
You're just oblivious.
And then all the girls were like, oh my God. I'm like,
Who's that?
I wish I could get up and do his walk. Because he was doing his, like, you know, his swag
can
walk.
she?
And then,
But can we zoom out?
Yeah, can we zoom out? And then he was doing his swag walk. And then I was just like, who's that? And then, like, all the girls were like, that's, you know, solid. And I was like,
What's solid?
And I was like, what is solid? And it was Eugene walking with his swag, right? I was like,
all right, she's going to show us during the song
and then
break,
he's like, he's kind of cute. 좀 괜찮은데. And they're like, 몰라? Like, they were like looking at me like an alien, as usual. I was like, so
몰라?
stupid. And then 가수라고, and I was like, so? I was like, so? So that's our sixth degree.
Oh my God.
So,
Small
anyhow,
world.
Small world.
Yeah.
All right. Ending on another positive note. These two young children who are setting examples for us adults. Tell us about
I
it.
taketh away and I bring back your faith in humanity. So two sixth graders, better than any adult in their entire neighborhood. They've been recently awarded by the Sejong City Education Governor. Why? So it starts with a very upsetting story. There was this 10-year-old girl in a local apartment complex who has developmental disabilities. She just, according to her mother, who wrote on the website, she just walked out of her home last month. Apparently she wasn't dressed, presumably after a bath. So barefoot, not dressed. So obviously panic for the family. And they went out. They were like screaming out her name, trying to find her. Apparently no adult that they've passed by offered to help. Which, okay, let's be better. Let's all be better. Then this boy comes up to them who is on a bicycle, asks, can I help? Like, what's going on? And then she explained the situation. He like summons his another friend who's on a bicycle, and they go riding looking for the girl.
Right.
And then apparently like she was trying to like, another passerby told the boys, I think I saw that girl heading towards that direction. They all run. The mother falls down. The boys get off the bicycle, asks her if she's okay. She says, it's fine. Can you please just go, get my daughter? They do. The girl was found inside an unmanned ice cream store. So she was indoors. No one was harmed. So the mother wrote this story on the education office website saying that she felt bad because although she thanked them because she was so busy taking care of her daughter, she like couldn't make a gesture or anything. So she just wanted to like let it be known. So they got an award from the education governor. And I like how like the governor is just he's like beaming and the boys are just so calm. They're like so mature. They're like, it's a Wednesday.
Why is the governor beaming? I'm sorry.
I'm beaming. I mean,
I don't know.
But yeah, you would think he's like their uncle or something. He's just so proud.
He's proud. I don't know. I wish the boys would smile a little.
I think they're like a little bit nervous, but they have like that like tight-lipped frown smile going on.
Yeah.
So I think they're
if you
just
look
a bit
closely,
nervous.
Yeah, they got the smile.
I love a good kid.
I do too.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna call it a wrap. We're done waggling for this entire week. We'll check in with you on Monday. Thank you, Haley.
Have a great weekend.
All right, now it's time for your updated traffic and weather. It's time for your updated traffic. There was a cargo truck that broke down on Namhangdaegyo towards Songdo right at the entrance of the bridge. It's been cleared up, but there's still backup ensuing. There's an accident on Mangyanglo from Sujong three-way intersection to Sujong Elementary School right before you get to the school. There's a collision on Baekyangdaero at Jinyang intersection towards Dangam Ipgu intersection at the entrance right there. It's currently 26 degrees Celsius under sunny skies. The daytime high will go up to 31 degrees, and it's going to be sunny today. Showers are forecast for some parts of the country, including Ulsan and parts of Gyeongnam. Looking ahead to tomorrow, we have an expected low of 23 and a high of 29. There are chances of rain Saturday evening, tomorrow evening, with the rain continuing through Sunday with similar temperatures. This was your traffic and weather. And this is 천생연분 by Solid.
여자일까 상상을 했어 yeah 웃으면 기도 웃으면 좋겠어 하고 준비를 살피고 흔드는 노래를 따라 불렀어 준비는 내 친구의 모습 보고 나 수줍은 고개를 숙여서 국민학교 등장이라 신기해 인사를 하려고 고개를 들으니 내 앞에 그건 다름 아닌 너 나는 나보다 더 다가가려 서로 믿고 있던 너무 하나 그냥 마음껏 웃어버렸어 서로 약속해 이번엔 어쩔 수 없나 봐 서로가 누구야 만나보아도 결국엔 이래져 우리 둘이서 또 만나게 되는 거잖아 이렇게 예쁜 너의 곁에 이렇게 착한 내가 있었어 우린 결코 헤어질 수 없어 영원히 살아갈 수밖에 없어 그렇게 미안해 하루 지나 예쁜 추억을 만든 것뿐이야 너를 사랑해 영원히 너를
Oh, welcome back. And for anybody who just listened to that song, I do want to say that group Solid, such a wave, blast from the past. You can actually listen to one of the members, Joan. He is on befm every Wednesday at 6 p.m. with Minsu. So he is actually on befm. I did want to give him a shout out. So let's get back to our topic at hand. We're talking about coincidences, chance meetings, running into random people like in the weirdest places, like chance meetings. So we talked about a couple of your messages. Leslie has run into a lot of famous people, including, I think she mentioned former President Carter. Really? I think she also mentioned that he held her daughter. My daughter was 1 and he asked to hold her. President Jimmy Carter, are you serious? That is like a big honor. And she also mentions lots of authors. And oh my gosh, why did my screen just froze? Okay, now it's back up. And I believe also, it's freezing again. I wish my screen would not do that. Okay, now it's okay. Also, we have Umberto. Where did Umberto go? Umberto said one time, Umberto, you're being funny. One time I met Jesus. He was selling oranges next to the 101 on the freeway. Umberto. Your wicked sense of humor. Yes, we have all met Jesus, have we not, on the 101 freeway? Yes. I think that, the chance meetings I love the most, the meetings we have every morning in our chat room. I feel like sometimes the people that I meet here, I feel like, wow, like we come from all walks of life, of all ages, of all ethnicities. And I sometimes wonder, how are we all connected? We're all connected through this show, right? It's kismet. We were meant to be. It's destiny. And I hope that our producer plays that song later on. And yeah, let's get to our special interview. For today's special interview, we're going to be focusing on the NATO Summit. President Yoon Suk-yeol's visit to the recent NATO Summit underscored South Korea's commitment to strengthening security cooperation with the alliance. Amidst serious security concerns here on the Korean Peninsula, closer military cooperation between South Korea and the U.S. has, of course, become very important. And the summit also highlighted the importance of Asia-Pacific partners in contributing to Euro-Atlantic security. with President Yoon emphasizing the significance of these developments. So with this, let's delve into the summit's outcomes and the future tasks for NATO. We have invited Dr. Garret Martin, a senior professorial lecturer and the co-director of the Transatlantic Policy Center in the School of International Service of American University. Let's say hi to him. Hi, welcome back. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you for hosting me.
Absolutely. So what do you think were the overall achievements of this summit? And maybe if you can go over some of the decisive moments?
Right. So I think there's several. I think the first one was this was meant to be a celebration. This was meant to commemorate 75 years of NATO. I mean, one of the most lasting alliances in modern history. So I think that was the first element. Second, I think Ukraine was particularly important in two ways. I think one of the big achievements was institutionalizing NATO as providing coordinating security and assistance to Ukraine. I think that's particularly important. I mean, some people have argued it's a way of Trump-proofing aid to make sure that it's less dependent on political wins. There were some advances on the issue of NATO of membership for Ukraine in NATO. It's not a formal invitation, but the language is stronger, saying that basically Ukraine is on an irreversible path. And as you've already hinted to, I think also the symbolism of the meeting between NATO and the Indo-Pacific Four, I think, again, suggests the extent to which NATO considers the Indo-Pacific as crucial. So I think those are the key deliverables. However, a lot of this is being overshadowed by what is probably about to happen. It's been much delayed, but the press conference that Joe Biden is supposed to give is getting a lot of scrutiny because, of course, there are a lot of questions about his ability to stay in the presidential race.
Right, indeed. And so the NATO leaders, they have highlighted the military support from North Korea and Iran to Russia in its invasion of Ukraine. And so how does this support affect the security dynamics in Europe and, of course, the broader transatlantic region?
Well, I think it's significant because increasingly the arguments that we've heard from NATO, that we've heard from, in particular, NATO's outgoing Secretary General, Jens Stoltenberg, is that security in Europe and Asia are increasingly interrelated. They're interdependent. And when we have North Korea providing millions of artillery shells to Russia, that is essentially allowing Russia to continue its war effort in Ukraine. And it's clearly a battle of attrition. So I think, in a way, it's supporting Russia's illegal attacks and invasion in Ukraine. It's also politically, I think it's a further signal that we seem to be, seeing the development of this sort of anti-Western axis between Russia, China, but now also North Korea and Iran. So I think that's also concerning, the extent to which we're seeing those blocks forming one against the other.
Yes. And this summit, I believe this is really expected to be a stage for examining the unity of NATO allies and not just of the NATO members. But can you provide your opinion on the future tasks for strengthening cooperation in response to this North Korea-Russia, this military cooperation that really does seem to be strengthening it? And also if you can address the rise of China as well?
I think this is a particularly significant challenge because I think what we've seen so far is NATO is a political and a military alliance. I think the fact that this is the third year in a row that you have the four Indo-Pacific countries coming to the summit is really, I think, a reaction largely to the rise of China. I mean, China is the key factor because, of course, China has long been a concern in the Indo-Pacific, but China is also a concern in Europe because of its support for Russia. So I think politically, we're seeing essentially like-minded partners in the Indo-Pacific and in Europe showing that they are tied by their common concerns about Russia and China. So on the political front, I think that's the easier question. On the military front, I think that's a more difficult question. I don't know if there's an agreement within NATO about what should NATO's military role be in the Indo-Pacific. And I don't get the sense from the four Indo-Pacific countries that they necessarily want to see NATO militarily involved or present in the Indo-Pacific. So I think the level of the cooperation still is to be really fully defined, and that's an ongoing task.
Yes. Well, since strengthening security cooperation is the goal of this visit to the U.S. for President Yoon Suk-yeol, closer military cooperation between South Korea and the U.S. Is necessary given the serious situation here on the peninsula in Korea. But what's your perspective, your take on this?
Yeah, I think this is in line with what we've seen in the past year and a half. We've seen also the closer cooperation between South Korea and the United States, but we've also seen it through the trilateral format between South Korea, Japan, and the United States. I believe you recently had also a large-scale military exercises between Japan, South Korea, and the United States. There was also what we call multi-domain. So they were practicing land, air, sea, and space. So I think the importance of this element is that it showcases, again, political alignment between the three, but it also helps to develop what we call interoperability. It's the abilities of those three militaries to act together, to align their sort of strategic approaches, to also work together in developing equipment and logistics. So all of that, I think, is militarily important, but the political signal it sends to North Korea and Russia and China and others is particularly important as well.
Well, it is obvious that NATO has welcomed the contribution of Asia-Pacific partners, including the likes of South Korea, Japan, etc. So how do the developments in the Indo-Pacific region impact European or transatlantic security, and what forms of cooperation are being pursued?
I would say, though, the Indo-Pacific is a crucial and ever more increasingly important area of the world for a variety of reasons. Of course, because of concerns about China, but also if you think about the volume of trade that moves through, the South China Sea, it is vitally important. So developments in the Indo-Pacific are particularly important for European countries, for Western countries. I think what we're seeing for the moment is, I think it's an informal platform of cooperation. I think we're seeing at the very least in terms of information sharing. We're seeing that also in terms of cybersecurity, in terms of artificial intelligence. I think we're seeing essentially the development of a roadmap for future cooperation. But I don't know if we yet have significant deliverables for that format. And again, I think for the reasons I think I alluded to, one is I think there's still internal division within NATO as to the balance of focus between how much should they focus in Europe and how much should they focus on the Indo-Pacific. And I would argue, I think within the four Indo-Pacific countries, I think there are also some small differences. I think New Zealand is maybe more cautious about escalation with China in a way that I would say maybe Japan and Australia are a little bit maybe more gung-ho about it. So I think until all parties, I think, have really fully developed clarity, the cooperation, I think, for the moment is still more in rhetoric than in sort of concrete deliverables.
And you already alluded to this, but, Joe Biden and his performance or, his stature, really a little bit of the focus has been on him. And with the upcoming U.S. presidential election kind of in the balance right now, potentially altering maybe the future of Washington's stance on NATO and support even for Ukraine in the balance. What are the possible ramifications for the alliance's future in terms of operation, even the collective defense commitments? Is it kind of hanging in the balance right now? Are things in limbo or are things stable? What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, one of my colleagues has said that NATO is on the ballot in November in the U.S. elections. And I couldn't agree more because we have in Joe Biden and in Donald Trump, nominees with fundamentally different views about the importance of the alliance.
Right.
We saw what happened when Trump was president. It was a very difficult time for the alliance. Lots of public disputes, a lack of cohesion. We've seen much improvement on the Biden in that front. We have reports treated with a pinch of salt, but reports nonetheless that Trump is considering possibly withdrawing from the alliance. That would have catastrophic consequences for the solidity of the alliance. Because in a sense, the American military power and American political influence is the anchor that is connecting NATO to the Indo-Pacific.
Yes.
If you have a disengaged United States when it comes to NATO, we'll have to see what impact that has on the Indo-Pacific countries as well.
Well, of course, all eyes on the U.S. right now as we speak. But thank you so much for coming on air with us and sharing your expertise with our listeners. Thank you, Dr.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. This was Dr. Garret Martin, and we talked about the NATO Summit. So what's to become of this alliance? Hopefully, we will get more out of this. But anyhow, for now, this is what we know, and this was your special interview. All right, so here is our next song. This is Be My Lover by LaBouche. La da da dee da 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 da. La da da dee da 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 da. La da da dee da 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 dee da da dee da 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 da. Be my lover, wanna be my lover. Looking back on all the time we spent together, you ought to know by now if you wanna be my lover, wanna be my lover. Go ahead and take your time, boy, you gotta feel secure. Before I make you mine, baby, you have to be sure you wanna be my lover, wanna be my lover, wanna be my lover. La da da dee da 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 da. La da da dee da 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 da. La da da dee da 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 dee da dee da 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 da. La da da dee da 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 da. La da da dee da 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 da. La da da dee da 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 dee da dee da 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 da. Ah yeah, hey, wanna be my lover. Ah yeah, hey, wanna be my lover. Ah yeah, hey, wanna be my lover. Ah yeah, hey, wanna be my lover.
I must confess, girl, yes, I wanna be your lover. Take a chance, my lover's like no other. On the dance floor, getting down, hold tight, I never let you down. My love's definitely the key, like boys to men, I'm on bended knee. Loving you, not like your brother. Oh yeah, wanna be your lover.
I hear what you say, I see what you do. I know everything I need to know about you. And I want you to know that it's telling me you wanna be my lover. La da da dee da 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 da. La da da dee da 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 da. La da da dee da 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 dee da dee da 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 da.
Get your local up-to-date news from Korea and abroad right here on Morning Wave in Busan with Catherine. Stay tuned.
Oh, wait, we're on air. It's time for Foreign Press Highlights. We have Vasana in the house.
I'm getting the bread.
Yeah, apparently every Friday she wants you to get the bread.
I'll get the bread. I got some coffee. I guess
Did you
you
bring
need
me
bread
some
with
coffee?
Yeah. No, not today. I'll give you some coffee next week. I got some coffee for some other people, just not you. 죄송합니다.
네.
Sorry. What's the text topic today?
Today we're talking about chance meetings, running into famous people. Any of those?
Famous people?
Or just like serendipity, running into like people in the strangest places.
Well, in regard to famous people, because I'm in a band and
Right.
involved
Oh,
with
I'm sure you run into
then
people
I've
all
run
the time.
into lots, but it's not chance meetings.
Okay.
They were there for the show, so
Like who?
It's kind of like Kangsan에, Ihyori, Firehouse. But Firehouse was through you guys because of the Busan Rock Festival.
Yes.
So it was my wife's favorite band, and going back to a couple of weeks ago with the text topic, it was our wedding song, "Love of a Lifetime."
Okay, TMI, but yes.
Well, I'm just going to your text topic from two. It was your text topic. Oh my goodness!
I'm just
burning me on a
so
Friday. Is that what
late.
is that what it means by get
didn't
the
bring
bread?
me coffee on a Friday, but yeah. Okay.
But the chance meetings is with students, ex-students, because I've been in Korea for over 20 years, and I've taught students from when they were young, and now yeah.
Do you like running into students? I don't like it.
Yes and no, but these two were like years apart, like decades apart.
Okay. Oh, really?
So I was in class, I was teaching at a university.
Yeah.
And then after class finished, this girl walks up to me and goes, Vasana teacher, do you remember me? And I'm going, no. She said, you taught me when I was 8 years old.
8 years old? That's
I'm
scary.
going, oh my God.
And then this is in uni.
So now she's at university. So now people know how old I am.
You're old. Okay.
So it's kind of like, and it was a different city as well.
Wow.
So I was living in a different city teaching her, and now she has come to Busan. And it was, wow. And her English, she said, I wanted to learn English because you were such a good teacher when you
That is a
taught
sweet
us.
story.
Yeah, and English was very good. It was amazing. She never
now
left
that
Korea.
you have
Patted myself on the back.
Yeah,
There are some other embarrassing stories, but we could talk all day about this.
Yeah, I thought of one, but we don't have time. So let's get into our story. Okay.
Nothing
what's
to
it
do with
about?
singing rooms. So this week is I've got a term which I've never heard before. Maybe our listeners have also, and
What
if
is
they
it?
have, they can text in.
Okay.
In English, it's perfect attendance beggar. Perfect
What is
attendance
this?
beggar. So in Korean, it's 개근 거지. Have you heard of that before?
개?
근 거지.
Okay. At first I thought you can't say 개 like that. 개근. 거지. Okay.
Sorry,
okay.
I was saying each syllable. Just
Okay.
making sure.
What does it mean?
It means somebody who goes to school all the time.
Right.
So perfect attendance. So in the
Right.
past, perfect attendance is what every kid wants so that they can get good grades, etc.
Especially like I think here in Korea it's a big thing.
Yes, perfect attendance.
Right.
Yes, but these days it's changing. And I'll give you some reasons after. But it was from an article in the South China Morning Post. So as you said, it's usually what everyone aspires to. And as we know, some of our students beg for perfect attendance. But that's not what this means.
Okay.
This is a different meaning. It's a term here to derogatory.
I thought you were an English teacher.
It's the coffee hasn't kicked in yet.
Right.
To
derogatorily.
Badly.
Yes.
Badly sounds like a
Derogatorily referred to.
sounds like a comedy show this morning. Badly referred to elementary school students as poor. for consistently attending school
without
going on overseas trips.
Really?
During the
So now
semester.
it's
During a semester. So not during the holidays, during the semester. I'm
so
sure.
you're looked down upon.
Yes.
Because you're
You got no
like
money.
literally you're poor.
Yes.
Because your parents can't afford to take you abroad.
Correct.
Oh.
Yeah. So the term's use has sparked controversy, and this has made obviously foreign media because that's what my
The whole segment's
the whole segment's about.
Right. Foreign press highlights.
So I looked and it's gone on to about 5 of the big
Really?
news sites.
Oh.
So it talks about a father whose son cried one day, came home because he was mocked by friends for being one of those perfect attendance beggars.
Oh.
So the father says he earned between 3 and 3.5 million won per month. And as we know, that is probably right on the limit in regards to
Like average or median.
Yes.
You know.
you're able to pay for everything, but you haven't got too much
Extra.
left. Yeah, too much
Right.
left, especially for overseas trips.
Yes.
So living expenses, mortgages, etc., no money left. But he decided to spend money on an overseas trip for his son.
So his son wouldn't be teased.
Yes, correct.
That's kinda
so his son was crying when he came home. So he tried to get an out. He firstly asked his son, how about going somewhere in Korea?
Domestic.
Domestic.
AKA cheap or inexpensive.
But these days, even Japan is cheaper than some places in Korea.
That's true.
So
That is true
it's
because of the currency.
the
Yeah.
currency exchange
Yes.
rate. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people haven't gone to Jeju either.
Right.
So that would have been a good option. But his son said, no.
Because it's embarrassing.
Yes.
He wants to say, I went abroad.
I went, yeah.
Like
went to
I got a
another-
stamp on my passport.
I went to another country.
Yeah.
So he carried on saying other children go to places like Guam, Singapore, Hawaii. Yeah, good on you for their experiential learning. So what he did, he paid for his wife and his son to go away, and he stayed home and worked. What a dad!
That's kind of sad.
It's
though.
dad of the year.
Aw.
Dad of the year.
He didn't even go. He sent his kid and wife.
Yes, I mean that's what I would. It would have been a holiday for me, but anyways. So I hope my wife's not. Hello. Hey,
What's your
honey.
wife's name?
Jennifer.
Jen. Kill him. Okay. Get him. Okay.
So how about you? When you were young,
Yeah.
did you go on school trips or rather family trips during the semester?
When I was young, when I was a child?
Yeah. Do you remember?
When I was a child? Yes. Why are you putting me on the spot?
We're talking about age all day. So
Yeah. I went on trips, yeah.
I think
But when I was in California, so it's a different culture. Like, but we went on like camping trips and stuff. It wasn't like bougie, like, oh, we went to France
Yes.
like, during the middle of the, it wasn't like that.
I think with
we
my
went on like camping trips, and it was not big. But in the States, it wasn't like you had to have perfect attendance. It wasn't like that. It wasn't that type
No.
of culture.
Yeah.
It's a very Korean thing, like the old adage, if you're sick, die at school kind of. It wasn't that kind of culture. Not in California. It was just like, if you're sick, it's okay. We'll
But
write you a note.
It's sort of flipped around now, where if you do get a perfect attendance, is not that good.
Right, but still at universities, like I read the literature because my youngest still has to go to university.
Yep.
They still frown upon any unexcused absence.
Really?
Yeah, they still frown upon it unless it's excused. They don't like it.
Do you excuse students for having absences or?
I'm very strict on attendance.
Are you strict? Oh.
Yeah, I'm strict.
I'm the opposite. I'm not very strict.
So let's go back to our story. So what
So
happened?
I was wondering why it's sort of gotten like this. So there are two things.
Okay.
One of them is have you heard the phrase "keeping up with the Joneses"?
Yeah, it's keeping up with the Kims.
Yep. Oh, keep up with the Kims.
Right, we're in Korea.
So if they buy a car, you buy a car.
Yeah.
If they buy a new computer, you buy a new computer. If their son gets an A+, your son must
Right.
get an A+.
Sure.
So that's one of the reasons why they referred to that. It's kind of like pressure, peer pressure.
Sure.
But the other one, I was talking to some other adults, some
Yes.
other people my age.
And what did they say?
And they said 2020, during the pandemic, this has changed a lot because this term has not been around for a long time.
Right.
And they think the term was invented. They came up with the term during that time in the pandemic.
What?
And even now, some kids are going to their parents saying, why do I need to go to school? Because during that time, they were staying home, getting an
That's
education through whatever app they were going through.
Right.
And then enjoying life at home. And then when they finally had to go back to school, nobody was socially inept. Or rather, they were socially inept.
No, but that's true.
Yeah.
Kids these days, I'm sorry to say, I sound like an old fogey, like a konde.
Yeah.
Kids are socially inept.
Yes.
They are. Ever since the pandemic. And as Leslie pointed out, the international travel bug is real. Yes, people want to travel more, including kids.
Yes.
They want to go everywhere. I do see it. I feel it. Yeah.
And
it's
after
true.
that travel ban was lifted, you saw everybody went everywhere.
Because it was like pent up.
Yes.
Because like, you know, the whole like, it's like psychological. When people say like, don't do this, you can't do this.
Yeah.
And then like, you're like, all of a sudden, like all the restrictions are lifted. Like people were
doing
like,
it.
people were like going crazy saying like, okay, now I can travel.
Yes.
I am going to travel just because I can.
Yes.
Right.
So I think that's the main reason, the pandemic.
Yes.
In which children were staying at home and they realized that.
And it's much younger now.
Yes, much younger.
Right, because like before it was kind of like high school kids and then like middle schoolers. But now it's elementary school kids who I hear it even from my niece and nephew.
Yep.
They're in elementary school and I hear from them. I've heard them say to their parents, my sister and my brother-in-law, like, why can't we go to here and so? I've heard it. Yeah, I've heard it from them. They're in elementary school, and I've heard my sister and my brother-in-law trying to like like trying to explain their way out of it, like thinking of an excuse to not like go during during the semester.
Yeah.
So and now that it's almost summer. I see them like struggling to come up with an excuse, and they're like, oh, but you have to go to Hagwon and like, some other excuse. Yes, it's real.
Yes, very
So that's
real.
why. Yes. So to wrap up, what do you want to say?
There were some comments online.
Yes.
I'll just finish up with
Right.
comments. One observer said, why should hard work and perfect attendance be looked down upon? So just same with us. Another one, I find this heartbreaking. I hope everyone can take pride in their achievements from diligent work and school attendance.
Okay.
And the last one, the person who coined the term perfect attendance beggar is very selfish. They do not want to see others succeed. So, yes, and I'm sure we have comments online as well.
But the thing is, I think a lot can be learned from traveling, but I'm saying, does it have to be during the school year?
Yes.
Can it not be done during like vacation time? It's
There's
just my
a lot
suggestion.
of vacation time.
Right, there's a lot of vacation time. It's just
Yeah.
my suggestion.
I agree with you
Right.
totally.
Anyhow.
Yeah.
Well, I just feel like, I don't think we should make kids feel bad.
Definitely not.
Is what I'm thinking. Okay. Well, we're going to call it a wrap. Thank you for this very interesting topic.
Thank you.
And we'll see you. Thank you so much, Vasana.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, we're going to call it a wrap. Thank you to the listeners, of course, and of course to our staff. We have our producer, Cho Yun-jin. We've got writers, Haley and Annie. I'm your host. I'll be back Monday. Final song, Ironic by Alanis Morissette. Have a good one, everybody. Bye-bye.
An old man turned 98. He won the lottery and died the next day. It's a black fly in your Chardonnay. It's a death row pardon, 2 minutes too late. And isn't it ironic? Don't you think? It's like rain on your wedding day. It's a free ride when you've already paid. It's the good advice that you just didn't take. And who would have thought it figures? Used to play it safe, was afraid to fly. He packed his suitcase, kissed his kids goodbye. He waited his whole damn life to take that flight. And as the plane crashed down, he thought, well, isn't this nice? And isn't it ironic? Don't you think? It's like rain on your wedding day. It's a free ride when you've already paid. It's the good advice that you just didn't take. And your cigarette break. It's like 10,000
Your bridge to the world. befm 부산영어방송.
다운이